Check it out, everyone. Today I am taking a look at a mini electric chainsaw. This is one of those handheld ones with the little 4-inch blades. I've never used one of these before. I am a chainsaw user. I am not a chainsaw fanatic. I'm the common everyday person. And I have been curious to get my hands on one of these just to see what they're like and how useful they are for the average user. There's been lots of chatter online that people don't like these or that they really like them. And where do they fit on the average homeowners or even homesteaders tool belt? So let's break into this and see what we got. Right on the back here, it shows kind of what we have for on the inside. Instructions. We've got our battery. Looks like a 20 volt. I'm guessing you wouldn't really need a huge battery because you're not using this like a workhorse all day. So that 20 volt would probably be sufficient. Then we got a charger. We got a battery, we got a charger, and this is some chain oil. A little screwdriver. Little Allen key thing. So on first look, it actually looks like it comes oiled. And the plastic actually looks pretty heavy duty. Like it's not super cheap like some things that I've bought online. The steel looks pretty decent. The chain looks at the same angle as most regular chainsaws, so that's good, meaning you could sharpen them with, if you get the right gauge of sharpening tool. And the battery actually has a battery gauge, and it looks like it comes charged. So let's snap that on. It was easy enough. Plug it in. Oh, there's a safety here, so let's press that. First thought, that's a little bit terrifying. Just to have so much power in one hand. I do have kids around our house, so one of the things I do is I always store my battery in a different place as my electric operated tools. That way it reduces the chance that they just put two and two together. One thing I like off the hop on this is there's a couple safety features that the earlier models definitely didn't have. They have a safety feature just on the fingers to protect your fingers from stuff. And then this one up here I think is the most important safety feature. This feature is important because on a regular chainsaw, I'm even nervous having my hands up here while I have the power there. Even though I know that I have to hit the safety first, it still makes me a little nervous. So this safety feature is important because on a regular chainsaw, the kickback zone is up here. And what that means is if you are using just the tip of your chainsaw blade, more specifically the front tip of it, there's a good chance that it can catch and kick back. And when that happens with the chainsaw, it can kick back and hit you in the shoulder or the head, or one of the important reasons why you wear a helmet or any other safety gear up there. Having this protects a lot from kickback. So even if that were to kick back, I think that would be a heck of a lot safer. The reason why this pivots, I believe, is that as you're cutting through a stick, this will keep going so you can cut through even more of a stick. You can cut through 2, 3, 4, however many inches that you can with this guy. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take off the bar and I'm gonna see what it looks like underneath. I'm gonna unplug it first. Now these are still sharp, so you can still kind of damage something or cut your finger, so you gotta watch out. So this is easy, and I think that is just a standard socket size, so this isn't super necessary to keep in hand. So on first look, normal chainsaws, often they have a piece of metal here to help this piece be a little more robust, because if this piece breaks, then your chainsaw is kind of useless. And this is just a solid piece of plastic. It's a thicker, stronger plastic, but I think that could be a problem for long-term use. It actually looks pretty decent under here. Nothing too crazy. There we go. So now that the chain is disassembled, often what happens with chainsaws is they'll get bound up, or they get gunged up, or they'll loosen up over time, and as they get warm, and they'll fall off for one reason. So you'll have to be able to maintenance these things to be able to put things back on. So how it works is this bar fits on here, and this is your tensioner. This is kind of what allows it to tighten or not. And I see here, this is our tensioner thing, which is why we have a screwdriver. So if you can see that, you put the bar on here, then you put that tensioner in that little hole. And then you should be able to kind of loosen it on or off. But you usually do that with the chain on, okay? These bars can be used both ways. They're pretty symmetrical usually. There's lots of talk on why some people like to use their bars upside down or not in the chainsaw community. I won't get into that. So let's just put this back together and see how it goes. One thing that I noticed off the start that I wish this thing had was a direction. A direction on this, on what direction the chain is gonna go. And that's important because the average person that's gonna buy this might not have a chainsaw. I'm guessing this tool will be used for people that have either mobility issues or particular circumstances where they're not main chainsaw users. And if they're not main chainsaw users, they want it to be easy enough to put back together and maintenance themselves, or else it's just not going to get maintenance. So I am going to put this on, and from what I remember to be that direction. And chains will always go into the bottom of the blade, because it would be dangerous if a chainsaw was kicking it back the other way. It would always want to get away from you and kick back. So I can tell right now, based on how sharp this is on this side, that this is going to turn this way and therefore cut. But another thing that I could do is I can just, with this off, trigger that and see what way this spins. And so it's spinning into the bottom, and therefore I want that cutting edge to go that way. So I put those grooves on. That's what it looks like. Then I'm going to just kind of work my way on to this. Move that out of the way. And if you can get it on, great. But if it doesn't fit, you might have to loosen or tighten that adjustment there. So now it's on. This doesn't have to be perfectly onto this gear because there is some movement there that's allowable. Put this guy back on. And see if it works. When you have a chainsaw, a little bit of play is okay, but if you can start to see kind of that bottom edge of that tooth plate, then usually that's a little too loose. So I want to tighten this up a bit. And that usually happens when you take it apart. Here it is. I'm still very nervous, so I'm gonna unplug this. I could see an accident happening, forgetting to take that off and then hitting the button. I can see that being a danger here. This is a little awkward actually. Tightening this with this chain on, there's not that much clearance for the screwdriver to the tightening thing. So that could be a bit better. Definitely workable. And sometimes if you tighten this onto the bar, it'll prevent your ability to adjust the tension, and you'll have to loosen it off before you work on it.
I'm not doing that.
And then after you loosen that off and tighten that to where you want it, then you tighten this guy back up. That just holds everything back together. Put that on, see if it runs. Nothing falls off, nothing broke. You should be good. It can be too tight. One thing I really like about any kind of electric chainsaw is as soon as you let the power go, it often cuts it, and it usually stops almost immediately. Whereas a regular combustion engine that is on older chainsaws, they'll slow down, and so you'll have really fast, and then it'll kind of slow down as the throttle's off. If you're on a piece of wood, the kickback is greater at lower speeds. So a slow moving chainsaw is actually really dangerous. Where that thing stops, not immediately once you let go, but you have a second. Yeah, it doesn't have an auto braking mechanism, which I think I would like in something like this. But that might be getting too fancy. So this is the very first time I've ever used one of these things. And these things do have a safety, and it's so easy, I don't know how safe that is. So I would not trust this around my kids. But let's see how well it cuts. That cuts pretty good, actually. Just for chopping up lots of little branches and stuff, I would highly recommend it. I'm going to use this a lot, I think.